Welcome back to the Boneyard Podcast, everybody. This is your host, Jared Shafit, along with my good friend,
Artemis Brower.
We're coming to you this week with episode 179. 179. Artie.
Yes.
How are we doing, my friend? I'm
good,
guessing
brother.
you're doing pretty good.
Yeah. It's been a good week. It's been a real good week. It's been a good week for the family. I can't say the same for Ashley and her family, but it's been a good week. It's been a good week.
That's good. If you don't know, Artie is a Michigan fan. Outside of ECU, he's a Michigan football fan, and so he is celebrating their first national championship since what? 97?
97. The first national championships in 97. It was a shared championship in Nebraska. First outright national championships is 1948, which is a long time ago.
That is a long time ago.
Yes.
And they were battle tested, Artie. They played a gauntlet of a schedule, taking down East Carolina University week 1.
Who gave up less points than Washington, I might add.
Yeah, and then held Edwards to fewer yards rushing, I believe. So yeah, I'm glad you're happy. When you're happy, I'm happy, Artie.
Yes. Championship gear is on deck. I got a hoodie, I got a t-shirt, I got a hat. It's all come. I'm actually going the Barstool route because they just have some great gear.
Well,
so
founder, owner of Barstool, Dave Portnoy, is a Michigan man. So they're gonna have the best gear.
They've got great Michigan gear, and I'm all here for it.
So. No free ads, but I do enjoy Barstool merch way more than I probably should. And Barstool, I gotta say, Barstool, when we started talking about doing a podcast 4 or 5 years ago,
it was sort of the inspiration.
That was kind of the inspiration. Some of their podcast, and that's kind of what we do here. We do different types of interviews, and so yeah, shout out to Barstool. Well, I'm a Stoolie. I am a big time Stoolie. So if you don't like that, sorry about it, but I am. But Artie, what else is going on? You got number 79 for me?
I do got a 79 for you. Doesn't play for my team anymore, but long time Chicago White Sox. One of the greater Chicago White Sox, at least of recent memory. I think it was 9 years on the South Side Bombers. That is one Jose Abreu, long time Chicago White Sox member. Currently with the Houston Astros. I think he's still with the Houston Astros. He played there last year. But All-Star, multiple time All-Star, was a great guy in the city. Not a name brand, not maybe a household name, but definitely one of the greater players or better players of the last 10, 15 years in the league. So yeah, Jose Abreu, shout out to him, former Southside Bomber. It's my 79 for the week.
We were talking is that chalk before the podcast? You didn't. We don't ever tell. We try not to tell each other who our number is. Being a baseball fan, I would almost say that's borderline chalk.
Yeah, okay. Baseball fan, that's borderline chalk. But to the average person, they don't know who Jose Abreu is. And that's why I say it's not chalk.
I'll give it to you, Artie. Just this time. Just because you're riding a high. I don't want to rain on your parade this week. All right. I'm going to go. I can guarantee you, Artie, if you've heard of this guy, I will.
It's baseball or hockey? Which one?
It's hockey.
Okay.
But if you've ever heard of this guy,
I've never heard of this guy. There's superstars. There's Hall of Fame superstars in hockey that I don't know about. So
if you know this guy, then you're a real one. Mine. Number 79, David Warsofsky.
Nope.
Yeah, out of Marshfield, Massachusetts.
Okay.
He's played, I believe, over 55 games in the NHL. Not a terrible career. Didn't play much. But Artie, the reason I picked David Warsofsky is he is the brother of Ryan Warsofsky, former head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes AHL affiliate.
Okay.
So there's the tie there. He's now Ryan Warsofsky is now a assistant coach for the San Jose Sharks, who are the worst team in the league. But yeah, I mean, Ryan Warsofsky, his team, he was on 2 Calder Cup winning teams. He was the coach for 2 Calder Cup winning teams in Charlotte and in Chicago. So that is my number 79, David Warsofsky, or the number 79, I believe, in 2018 and 19 when he was playing with the Boston Bruins.
Right.
So yeah, not chalk. Definitely not chalk.
That's the furthest thing from chalk. That might be the most non-chalk answer you've ever had on the podcast. So I give you that one.
Hey, I try to find interesting ones. It's
hard.
I'm
gonna have to dig deep because we're getting to the 80s now. So now we're getting to like relevant numbers. I'm gonna have to start digging deep to find some really non-chalk names for the 80s.
Artie, I know we're gonna get into the podcast here in a second, but I've got this. You know how a couple months ago everybody was talking about what's your Roman Empire? What's the one thing that you think about like pretty consistently that like is kind of random?
Mm-hmm.
I've got one, and I don't know. It has to do with numbers. I constantly think about that. If I were to ask you, Artie, give me a random number.
72.
Okay. That's not a random number. You had to think about it. So it's not random. And that bugs the hell out of me. There's no way to ask anybody for a random number. If you tell somebody, pick a number between 1 and 100, a random number between 1 and 100.
Yeah.
Guess what? That number is not random. And maybe it's the data and stats guy in me, but it bothers the hell out of me that it can't be random because somebody had to think about it. That's my Roman Empire.
Okay. That's a quirky one. That's a weird one.
Like I think about that more than
is that
I'm happy to admit. It really that and the other one is food. Like, who thought at some point in history somebody was walking along a path and looked down and saw a mushroom and was like, I should eat that?
You know, I was actually having a conversation. It's funny you mentioned this. I was having a conversation with a coworker about this the other day, about food and like the origins of food. And it's like, you do know, like our ancestors were probably eating like cockroaches. Like, no, that don't taste too good. I don't think we should keep doing that. Who the hell
saw a cow and was like, oh, I should pull on that.
Yeah.
I should pull on that thing at the bottom of the cow, and whatever comes out, we should just drink it.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. That's a good one. I like that one.
Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just the lack of brain cells up there that has me staying awake at night thinking about these things.
To accept these things, but these are legit conversations.
But and as the listeners are like, get to the podcast. I had to get it off my chest. Random numbers. The 70s are a bunch of random numbers, but they're not random.
We can start a spin-off podcast called High Thoughts with Jared and Artie. And we can do that as well. High Thoughts conversations.
I've never even been high, and these are the thoughts that I have. These are my thoughts at like 2:00 in the afternoon. I don't know. All right, Artie. Boneyard Podcast, proud to be members of the Variety Sports Podcast Network. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you go subscribe over at Variety Sports Network. We're live there as well. If you're watching on Variety Sports Network, go follow us at Boneyard Podcast. Follow them on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Lots of great content coming out. Yesterday they did an emergency pod with the big news that came out of Tuscaloosa. Yeah, go check them out. I know I've been saying this for a while. I'm ready to do the hockey podcast. We've got a guest lined up for the hockey podcast, a big one.
What's a hint? Throw us a bone.
Former Carolina Hurricane.
Okay. What years?
You're going to get me. I would say 2014 to like 2016 maybe.
Okay. So pretty recent. All right.
Fairly recent. Swedish player. So we got a guest lined up. I'm just trying to figure out who my co-host is. They're kind of dragging their feet at times, but hey, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it done. We're gonna get it done. The 5-Hole Podcast, Hockey Podcast, NHL Podcast. All right, Artie. ECU. Enough talk. We've been talking for 11 minutes. ECU. The transfer portal has. I wouldn't say it's come to a halt. People are still committing.
Yeah.
But things have definitely slowed down from where they were early to mid December. Right. Now there's rumors swirling out there, and I've been saying for a couple weeks now, probably for about a month, that I knew ECU was in on a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that was too hard to guess that ECU wanted another quarterback in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
You can never have too much depth at that position, especially, when you need competition. And we saw that competition last year didn't really play out, and the coaches didn't really know what they were doing with the talent that they had in the room. You need guys, and you're always looking for somebody that can come in and get you quality snaps, right? So Jake Garcia is rumored to be coming to ECU. I've heard that he may have already even signed. So that's out there. He hasn't made an official announcement. At least I haven't seen one. Talk to me a little bit more about the depth and what this addition might bring to a quarterback room that lost Mason Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Flynn is still kind of out there. I think he's coming back, but talk to me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, if we do indeed get him, which I think it's going to be signed soon, delivered here soon. It's a phenomenal move. Obviously, it creates the competition right now factor, right? Because Jake Garcia, he's a seasoned guy. This will be his third team in 4 years. He was at Miami. It's a top 50, top 60 recruit in that 2021 cycle. Was at Miami for the 21 and 22 seasons. I know he played a game his freshman year. Then he got injured, I think with an ankle injury, had him out the rest of the year. Then obviously he was a backup to Tyler Van Dyke in that 2022 season. Threw for less than 1,000 yards. I think he had like 7 touchdowns at Miami. Went to Missouri, obviously. I forget their quarterback. I forget his name. Brady Cook. That's the quarterback for Missouri. Obviously lost that job at Missouri, but he's got experience. He's got talent. But this creates a competition right now scenario, right? So Hauser comes in. We're not just going to give you the job right away, right? You're coming in. You're going to have to prove to us. You're going to have to earn that starting spot, because here's another guy who's hungry. He knows he doesn't have too many more years left of eligibility. This is his third team in 3 to 4 years. He's going to go out there and try to prove it himself as well. So I love the competition that this is going to breed. I love that these are legitimate guys that have been at pretty prominent programs, right? Miami, Missouri, Michigan State. These are prominent, big-time programs. So they're going to come in. They're going to have that kind of hopefully leadership capabilities, qualities that you would look and we've seen that in Hauser. Obviously, he had the he had the podium, get up and everything. As a 19-year-old kid, he's got it. So I love the move between creating that competition right now, because obviously, it's not a foregone conclusion, but we assume it's going to be a battle between Garcia and Hauser once we get all the pieces in the building.
Yeah, I would think that if Garcia comes in, I mean, he's probably gonna apply for a medical red shirt. And what I think this is doing is it's giving you a bridge from Caden Hauser, Jake Garcia, Cole Hodge. It's giving you that depth that I was talking about, while also giving you plenty of weapons in that room that hopefully one of them comes out. Caden Hauser, to me, it's Caden Hauser's job to lose. I don't think that they're going to start Cole Hodge to begin the season. Jake Garcia didn't play last year. Played a couple of games at Miami. Stats don't really jump out at you, but these are a bunch of guys that have been pretty high up in the recruiting rankings out of high school. And a lot of times you don't get that high as they were as a recruit without having at least some tangible skill, right? So that skill is there. It's up to the coaches to unleash that skill and put them in the best situation to really kind of stand out. Caden Hauser, I've seen people say, "Oh, well, these are a bunch of guys that haven't really done much."
Well, they haven't. Neither is Caden Hauser.
But you look at the situations that they've been in, and none of them have been in a stellar situation where they've got a good coaching staff. I mean, you look at all the stuff that was going on at Michigan State this year with Mel Tucker and everything else. He was doomed from the get-go, right? Now he will hopefully have a stable coaching staff and not too much drama around him other than what he's doing on the field, and he can go out and ball. And that's the thing that I'm hoping with all of these transfers. ECU's gone out, and I've seen people say, "Oh, well, they've gone out and gotten bench guys, or they've gone out and gotten guys that don't really stand out or didn't start at Power 5 schools." Okay, but when you're refilling holes in your roster of guys that have shown that ability, have shown that skill set, but they haven't been in the right situation for themselves.
Right.
And now that they're at East Carolina and they're going to have a chance to really show what they can with a competent offensive coordinator, hopefully they refined what they had in high school.
Yeah, and you mentioned Garcia medical redshirting. So I'm assuming he's still coming back from or coming off injury. Who presents the most competition for Caden Hauser in your mind? Is it Hodge? Is it Jeter? Is it Garcia? Who is presenting that 1A 1B type competition?
I would probably say, and I don't want to overlook Jeter, but I would probably say Cole Hodge. I think that he has the most natural skill out of the group. Now, Caden Hauser is probably the more refined answer for who's starting. Mm-hmm. But as far as challenging him for that starting role, I think Cole Hodge is going to come in and he's hungry. I think that he's going to show out. I think he's going to have a good spring camp. But I'm always hesitant to start a freshman quarterback. Go ahead.
Let me ask you a follow-up, though. Do you think this coaching staff has the guts to start a true freshman quarterback right out the gates, if he indeed looks the part. Like he looks like he provides a better opportunity for success. You think they do that, or are they more old school? I'm leaning the latter.
I would say with the calamity that happened last year in the quarterback room, the issues that were brought about, Garcia was the heir apparent going into last season. And everybody knew it. The coaching staff knew it. The players knew it. Everybody knew it.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, Alex Flynn balls out, challenges for the job. Garcia gets whatever happens to Garcia, Mason Garcia, that is. And he basically gets the yips, falls apart. I think it was a more mental block.
Yes.
But I think that, Artie, that experience last year, at least from Coach Houston's standpoint, he's going to ride whoever gives him the best chance to win. Because I guarantee if Mike Houston doesn't win 6 games next year, I would be hard-pressed to have him back in 2025. If he doesn't win 6 games next year with this roster and with this schedule, Mike Houston's seat will be hotter than it's ever been.
Yeah. You said it right with this schedule, because it ain't gonna be as ripe. The fruit will never be as ripe as it's gonna be next season.
But I think with the new blood that you brought in on the offensive staff, they're gonna ride whoever gives them the best chance to win. I think collectively they all know that. So I think they're all probably thinking at this point, Kane Hauser's that guy. But if somebody comes in and Cole Hodge comes in and outperforms Jeter, Hauser, Garcia, Flynn, if he's still there, you're going to see Cole Hodge be the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Do I think that that's what's going to happen? I don't think so. Not this year. But I do think that they're going to go with whoever gives them the best skill on the field. They're going to ride whoever is the best quarterback. That's what they're going to have. Kane Hauser is a phenomenal leader. He's shown that already. He's got the media down pat. He's got that, what it takes to be a starting quarterback. What it takes to be a starting quarterback in premier college football, right? He knows what it takes. He's polished. He's a teammate. He's a great teammate. He's a leader. That's what ECU has lacked that's what they lacked last year on offense. ECU lacked a true leader on offense. Now I think Rajay Harris is that guy. I think he's going to be a captain this year.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have a guy like that last year on the offense. Nobody was stepping up and saying, okay, this is on me. Yeah, they said it in the press conference just because that's what they're trained in their press training and their media training. But nobody actually believed it, right?
Because you never really had a true starting quarterback.
Exactly.
And you can't also have another guy step up if you don't even know who your quarterback is going to be starting week in and week out. So,
right.
that definitely took its toll.
And Kane Hauser has played in a big-time market and big-time football, and now he's the quarterback at East Carolina University, where there's still big-time football to be played, right? So I think he's the guy, but if somebody stuns the coaching staff in spring ball and throughout summer camp and going into the fall, we may be in a situation where we're saying, yeah, Kane Hauser's a good quarterback, but somebody beat him out. And they're going to take whoever beats him out, right? Like, I don't think that they're going to go with – Coach Houston's not going to want to go into next year with a 2-quarterback system, especially after the way this year went.
No.
And if he does, look, I love Coach Houston. He's a friend of the podcast. If he does that, if we don't have a quarterback named in time for the season, pack your bags, Mike. Get a moving company to pack all your recliners and get the hell out of Greenville, because that's what we can't have that anymore. Everybody had an issue with it last year, but we said, oh, maybe there's something about Alex Flynn that we haven't seen yet. No, Alex Flynn was exactly who we thought he was, and Mason Garcia wasn't anything like we thought he was.
Yeah.
So you've got, and I think JDB is going to be a better evaluator of talent and not be he's not as tied in right now to what's being said around the university. Donnie Kirkpatrick, friend of the podcast, he's been here so long and been around ECU for so many years that he was tied in. He knew what people were saying. Him and Mike, they were saying they were trying to say, okay, we're gonna have Mason Garcia. They tried to force Mason Garcia into the starting quarterback role. Obviously, he wasn't ready. They didn't take a shot in the transfer portal. They should have taken a shot in the transfer portal because they weren't ready. Nobody was ready.
Well, and just to go back to the JDB comment, I mean, this is going to be his offense. Coach Houston came out and said it when they hired him. This is JDB's offense. So the quarterback decision, I think, is going to come down to what JDB wants as his starting quarterback. Mike Houston's going to be in the room. Obviously, he's the head coach. He's going to have final say. But I have firm belief that JDB is going to pick his guy, and Houston's going to sign off on it. I just think that's how it's going to go.
Yeah. I think, I mean, we're having this big discussion, and it's always fun to talk about who's going to be where and who's going to be the starter and whatnot. I mean, we're 8 months out already from college football.
This ended this past Monday. We can't stop talking about it. I love it.
That's the beauty of East Carolina. Even when we go 2-10, and
can't stop talking about it.
Football season is over, and it's been over for over a month, and we got 8 more months left of the season until the season.
Yeah,
we're debating who's going to be the starting quarterback. So yeah, I think it's great to always have depth. All right, Artie, moving along, basketball, men's basketball is up to 9-7 on the season. Recover from back-to-back losses to sweep the week last week. You beat Tulsa, then you go on the road last night, beat Temple. Brandon Johnson scored 17 points, including a go-ahead three-pointer with 55 seconds left as ECU beat the Golden Hurricane. RJ and Ezra also had 14 points. RJ Felton had a game-high 20 points on 8 of 10 shooting last night when they beat Temple. Artie, you lost some tough games the week before, and you bounced right back in, and you've won 2 games that, honestly, going into them, looked like they should have been L's on the schedule before the game was played. That's why we don't play on paper. We play on the hardwood.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what this last week, the last 5 days have been for East Carolina basketball.
Well, we stopped the bleeding, man. We stopped the bleeding. Obviously, we lost those tough ones. We're sitting at 7-7, won 2 straight. So we stopped the bleeding, and that's the most important thing. This feels like one of those typical ECU basketball seasons, up and down. We'll lose 2, 3, 4 in a row. We might win 2, 3, 4 in a row, and we'll finish right at 500, right? So, and I think I said I wanted this team to finish at least 5 games over 500. To me, that kind of exemplifies, okay, we're starting to move. We're actually rolling the ball instead of just picking it up and placing it. The ball is actually rolling. So we'll see. I'm happy that we've bounced back. I'm happy that I didn't know that was our first ever win at Temple, though. I did not know that. So men's basketball, first win ever at Temple. First win against Temple since 2020. So it's been a while since we beat that team. One that really hops out to me, though, the stat that I see here in the notes, currently sitting at 4th in AAC home attendance, which if you're anybody that's followed this program, anybody that knows anything about ECU basketball, big attendance crowds is not what we do at East Carolina when it comes to basketball. We don't have those huge attendance crowds. And we may have a big-time program come in and everybody be there for the first quarter or, the first half, I should say. And then by halftime, second half, everybody's joining out leaving. So to see that stat, to see that we're 4th in the AAC with some of these other big-time basketball programs that we have here in the conference, that means that people are starting to care. People are paying attention. People are starting to care. But as for the team itself, it still remains to be seen for me. We're sitting at 9-7. That's great. Let's see if we keep it going.
Yeah, another big test this weekend as the Pirates host SMU on Saturday. That's a big one. SMU 10-5 on the season, 4:00. Get into Minges. I saw that the Scallywags, Minges Maniacs, were tailgating for the last home game. They're going to be doing it again this weekend. Shout out to them. Make sure you go out there if you're a student. Go hang out with the Minges Maniacs. They're a lot of fun. Coming from a former president of the Minges Maniacs, yeah, I would do anything to be able to go back and get rowdy with those guys.
I bet I would too. Even though I didn't go to a lot of basketball games.
All right, and then on the 17th, ECU will play North Texas. So another home game. Get out to that one as well. That'll be at 7:00 that night. That's going to be painted black.
Painted black, baby.
That's always fun, especially with the new lights in Minges. So get out and support the guys. All right, now women's basketball. Huge win over Memphis over the weekend, beating Memphis 64-63. ECU closed on a 12-2 run over the last 3 minutes and 21 seconds. Danae McNeil had 17 points in the game. But then you come out. They started hot against UAB last night, Artie. And then a terrific third quarter from the Blazers just took over. Yeah. I mean, ECU was outscored 29-17 in the third quarter. If it wasn't for that, this game's a lot closer. ECU has a chance to pull out the win. You lose 73-64. UAB, I mean, I think they've got 4 losses on the season. Overall, I mean, they're
pretty good.
They're one of the better teams.
Yeah.
ECU, I mean, 3-1 in conference play. There's still plenty of opportunity. I don't know where we are in the rankings right now in conference, but there's plenty of opportunity to still win the American Athletic Conference. And they've done well. I mean, they beat UTSA last week and beat Memphis, and this is a blip on the radar, right? Like they're gonna be okay. I'm not too concerned about it. Amaya Joyner just was balling out 16 points, 15 rebounds. So
she can
shout out to her. I mean, that girl can ball.
Whoop.
That girl can ball. Your thoughts on women's basketball?
Yeah, I also think we're going to be okay. I will say this: we do need to start turning it around sooner rather than later, and we're going to have to start proving that we can beat some of these 12-4 UABs and some of these other better teams in conference and even outside of that. My thinking, I thought we'd probably be sitting at 11-3 right now at this point in the season. We're sitting at 9-5, which is perfectly okay. Like you said, we're still going to be all right. We still have everything out in front of us. We can still defend the crown and go back to back if that's what we want to do, because we have the players and the coach to do it. But it's got to start turning around now. I think for our women's basketball team, they need to probably string together probably a 3 to 4 game win streak, kind of get some real confidence, start feeling good about themselves, especially now they're in conference play. But I agree. I think we're going to be okay.
For sure. All right, Artie. I guess we should talk about it. Let's talk about the College Football National Championship.
Yes.
Your boys in blue beat Washington 34-13.
Wax that ass.
I gotta say, that game, like, while it was one of the closer games in the last 2 or 3 years,
Yeah, it was close all the way to the fourth quarter. Yeah.
it was still honestly one of the more boring games of college football that I've
We'll
watched.
also agree with that. Yeah. As a
And
Michigan fan,
as
I
far
was
as
it was a pretty boring game.
as far as it being the national championship, it was boring. Blake Corum, offensive player of the game, 21 carries, 135 yards. Donovan Edwards, 6 carries for 104 yards. I believe he was held to like 30 yards against ECU. And then JJ McCarthy, 10 for 18 for 140 yards. Artie,
Yeah.
take it away. Just go ahead and talk about Michigan.
Look, I'm not gonna get on a soapbox and talk everybody's ear off. I will say I'm extremely shocked that the Washington defense let us gain over 300 yards rushing on them. That was absolutely absurd. I said it last week that we were better in the trenches. I didn't know we were that much better in the trenches. We completely dominated them from an offensive line and defensive line standpoint. Our safeties and secondary and corners, they played absolutely phenomenal. They did get away with some holds. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a Michigan man, go blue. But we did have about 2 or 3 pass interference calls that we were the beneficiary on not having those calls being called. We still would have won the game regardless. We would have. But there was a couple of holds that were missed. Outside of that, secondary played phenomenal. Defense played phenomenal. You hold an NFL quarterback and at minimum 2 NFL receivers to 13 points in a national championship game, you deserve all the flowers in the world. Harbaugh, unfortunately, I think he's off to the NFL. I really do. I would love for him to, pick up that $125 million deal that Michigan has offered him and be the highest paid college football coach and the best college football coach now that Saban is obviously not going to be on the sidelines. But I think he's itching to go back to the league. Who knows? We'll see. Would love to see him in Chicago. Probably not going to happen. But we'll see. But yeah, man, go blue. Maize and blue, baby. Maize and blue.
All right.
I will say the Natty was the week before. I think the Rose Bowl between Michigan and Alabama, that was probably your national championship.
Yeah, the semifinal games were definitely more interesting than the final. I mean, I think we would have probably had more fun with a Michigan Texas national championship than having a Michigan Washington, or even a rematch Alabama Texas. But we already saw that play out earlier in the season, so
it was a good game.
It was, but yeah, I watched it.
It was a boring game. Yes, I would. Now for me, I loved every minute of it because obviously I wanted to see a blowout. But it was a pretty boring. After about halfway through the third quarter, it's like, okay, this is kind of
Yeah, after the phantom holding call that took away the 32-yard pass for Washington, and then they gave the ball back to Michigan, and Michigan scored. And after that, I was like, okay, this game's over.
They let us rush for 300 yards, man.
Yeah, no, I mean,
they let us rush for 300.
Y'all beat them.
Carroll would have never allowed Michigan to rush for 300 yards on his defense. That is just absurd.
Don't say that too loud, Artie. We want to keep friend of the podcast Blake Harrell around for a long time here in Greenville. All right, you kind of alluded to it just a second ago. There's a lot going on in the world of coaching. Artie, 3 big names in the last 48 hours have announced they're retiring, or they've stepped away, or they've been let go, or they've parted ways. 3 legendary coaches are not going to be coaching their teams next year. 2 of them in the NFL, 1 in college football. We all know Nick Saban announced he was retiring yesterday. Now, Bill Belichick today from the New England Patriots, of course, and then Pete Carroll out of Seattle. Artie, what in the world's going on?
I think with Nick Saban, it was the writing was on the wall because I don't think he likes the way college football is trending towards. I think the way it's going is not his brand of football. He's all about development. He's all about guys coming in and being there for 2, 3, 4 years and building a brand and building a team and building a program, doing it his way, doing it the Alabama Nick Saban way. And I think he understands with NIL, with these guys coming in, it's like, what can you do for me instead of what can I do for the university? I think he sees that, and I think he's like, nah, I'm good. I've done what I needed to do. I won my championships. I had my fun. I saw his sit-down interview earlier today with Reese Davis on ESPN, where he talked about, the timing of it was perfect for him and what he wanted to do, where he was at with everything that he had accomplished. So I think it makes sense for Nick Saban. I'm not really too shocked about it. Bill Belichick is another one where the Patriots have just kind of sucked the last couple of years. Let's just be honest. The Patriots have been awful. And his philosophy, his style, it's just he's still one of the greatest. That's not to be debated. He's absolutely one of the greatest. But there needs to be a change. He needs to change the scenery. The Patriots need to change the scenery. That's just what it is. Pete Carroll is probably the most lovable out of those three. He's obviously the best personality out of those three. And I think he's still going to be with Seattle. I know he's doing like a front office gig or something like that. I think kind of what Bruce Arians did with Tampa a couple years ago. That's kind of what Pete Carroll's going to be doing in Seattle. So they're legends. They're first ballot Hall of Famers. Nick Saban is the GOAT when it comes to college football. Bill Belichick is arguably the greatest professional, NFL coach of all time. And Pete Carroll is right there with him in, the Mount Rushmore or top 5, top 10 coaches of all time too. He won a Natty at USC twice over. He won a Super Bowl in the NFL. So Pete Carroll's resume cannot be diminished at all. So they deserve it. And they're all old. These are old men. They deserve their retirement.
Yeah, a bunch of random ages in the 70s, Artie. No, the one that obviously Nick Saban was shocking. Bill Belichick wasn't as shocking. I wasn't expecting Pete Carroll.
Oh yeah, I wasn't expecting Pete Carroll either. I thought he'd been around for another 5 years.
The Nick Saban one, I kind of had it in the back of my mind the last couple months of the season when, it looked at times that Alabama didn't seem like the same Alabama this year that they have been in the past. And that's not knocking Alabama's season. They just weren't the same team that they've been for the last 2 decades.
Like he said how grueling this season was, how much of a toll it took from what they were at the beginning to what they had to become to where they ended up. Like he mentioned that early, like that took an extreme toll on him and his body.
Yeah. So, all right. Who replaces Nick Saban in Tuscaloosa? We know it's not Dan Lanning.
Dan Lanning. Yeah.
It's not Dan Lanning. The favorite right now is Lane Kiffin.
I think it's a 3-headed race from who they want. I think Kalen DeBoer, Washington. I think Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss, and I will say Dabo Swinney out of Clemson. Now Alabama fans can't stand Dabo Swinney and they don't want him. But I promise you, if Dabo shows up in Tuscaloosa, you're gonna take him because he's a damn good coach. So I think that's the three-headed monster right now. But I feel like Alabama's AD wants Kalen DeBoer.
To me, it seems like it would be such a layup. Just hire Lane Kiffin.
But does he want to leave Ole Miss though? If he
right
wants to Miss, then yeah, I think it's Lane's job to lose now that Dan Lanning is obviously out of it. But Ole Miss is rolling right now. It's a good job.
Got the number one transfer recruiting class in the country. Look, yeah, they've been on top of it, but Lane Kiffin, this opportunity only comes around every so often.
It's true.
Right? And Lane Kiffin is, in my opinion, born to be the Alabama head coach. He makes the most sense for Alabama. He fits the mold. He seems like he would be the guy. Kalen DeBoer, great coach. to me, Lane Kiffin seems like the coach that Alabama should be able to have whatever coach they want.
That is true. It's Alabama. It's the job. But then again, you're always going to be the guy that replaced the GOAT. You're not the guy that replaced the guy. You're the guy that replaced the greatest to ever do it. So that kind of pressure, do you really want that kind of pressure? You can't come in and win 10 games at Alabama. You got to come
Do they say that about LeBron with MJ?
That's a different situation, man. LeBron has never played for the Chicago Bulls. That's different. He wrote his own story, had his own legacy.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I agree. Lane makes the most sense. If he's got Alabama thing going to Ole Miss, and then if he comes to Alabama, it's got to be immediate. There's no rebuild. It's immediate, which he can do that. But I'm just saying, you're replacing the greatest. So,
for sure. All right, Artie. Well, end of a coaching era. I mean, Bill Belichick. Who knows where he ends up? Lots of coaches been fired lately, parted ways. My Falcons, Arthur Smith. Go back to FedEx, big boy.
Hopefully he reduces next. Get your ass up out of Chicago, bro. You gotta go. You gotta go. Him and Art Smith can try to find jobs together. Gotta go.
All right, Artie. Let's see. Walk the plank. Do you have a walk the plank for me?
I don't think I do, man. It's a good week. I can't walk the plank. It's still Michigan National Championship week. I can't have a walk the plank. I'm still happy.
All right. Us talking about LeBron, MJ reminded me of LeBron saying that Bronny can start on the Lakers right now.
That was a joke, man. He was just trying to inspire his teammates because they're playing like hot doo-doo.
I was about to say, Bronny is absolute. I mean, I won't say trash, but he's not.
He's a true freshman averaging 7 points a game. He'll develop. He'll be all right.
I don't know. All right. That's one. And then the other would be there was some the ACC officialed in the national championship game. I'm not saying it would change. I'm not saying it would change the outcome, but it would have made for a better game had they called a more even game.
They did miss some calls. I'm not gonna lie. No, they missed some calls on Washington too. They did.
Yeah, but the more egregious calls that were missed, Artie, were on Michigan. You got to be able to admit. That holding call was the worst holding call
I'll let it go.
I've ever seen.
I don't think it would have changed the outcome. I think instead of 34-13, it'd been 34-27. I think yes, we would have got a much better product. I think Michigan still wins, but I agree. Those were some egregious calls that they missed or called and should have let go.
Well, the college football season is over for the next 8 months. We will look forward to 2024 college football. I think next week we should do our kind of first look at what's ahead for the spring college football for ECU.
Okay.
And then maybe we'll do some way too early power rankings in the American Athletic Conference.
Ooh, yeah. I love me a good power ranking. Let's do it.
All right, so come prepared for that. The NFL regular season already ended this past week, thankfully. I mean, the Falcons once again for their 3 years under Arthur Smith, I believe they went 7-9, 7-10, 7-10. And each year they had the 8th overall pick in the NFL draft. So thank God that the season's over. The worst place to be in professional sports is in the middle, and the Falcons are constantly in the middle.
Right in the middle. You don't do enough to get to the playoffs, but you did just enough to not get a great draft pick.
Exactly. So I think Terry Fontenot is going to have his work cut out for him with the Falcons. May look at jumping up. I don't think they're going to jump up to 1, but anyways,
Hey, look,
Artie,
the phone lines are open, brother. Call Chicago if you want to.
I think that conversation to jump up to 1 probably it starts, of course, with the first round pick for the Falcons, either this year or next. My guess would be this year.
You guys need a quarterback.
And it would probably include either one of Bijan Robinson, AJ Terrell, or Kyle Pitts. That's the starting point of the conversation.
Yep.
And I don't think the Falcons are ready to do that. I think if they're going to move up, they're going to move up to 4 or 5 and get a guy like Bo Nix or Michael Penix.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels. I could see that. I don't think they're moving up to 1 or 2 to take Williams or Drake May. I don't personally think Drake May is.
I don't think he's the second best quarterback.
I don't think he is either, but
I don't think he's third best.
Yeah. But somebody's going to draft him that high, and he's going to be the next Mitch Trubisky. That's just what they do at Carolina. All right, Artie. The NFL postseason is here. Wild card weekend is this weekend. Browns are 2-point favorites at the Texans. Over unders 44.5. What you got?
I'm excited for this game. It's going to be a good game. CJ Stroud, obviously rookie of the year, in my opinion. Actually, no, he's locked. That's a rookie of the year lock. They also got the coach of the year, in my opinion, down there in Houston. But they're a startup, and they don't have much playoff experience. That building's going to be rocking. NRG's, I'm assuming, it's going to be sold out. Building's going to be rocking. But give me Pretty Flacco, man. Give me old Joe. Down there in Cleveland doing his thing. That defense is legit. They got weapons. Njoku, Amari Cooper. Like, Cleveland's got some legitimate weapons down there. So give me Cleveland in a high-scoring affair. I think there's going to be some points scored in this game, even with the good defense that Cleveland has. I think Houston's going to score some points.
You're taking Cleveland. I'm gonna take the Texans. I do like what CJ Stroud's done. I think that what he put together in his rookie season, I look, this is going to be one of the more entertaining games of the weekend, in my opinion. I think this is one of the closer games.
Yes.
This
is a true toss-up.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna go Houston here. I think that there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. So I'll take the over there as well. All right, Artie, on Peacock. Dolphins at Chiefs.
That should have been my damn Walter Plank. That's what it was. Chiefs and Dolphins on Peacock.
Go ahead, take it away. Take the Walter Plank.
No, that's honestly one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Nobody has Peacock. Nobody's watching NBC TV.
I have Peacock.
Are you watching NBC television shows like that, Jared? Or are you watching like once every couple weeks?
I watch The Office.
Jared, you don't even need Peacock to watch The Office, man.
Yeah,
you don't need a Peacock subscription to watch The Office.
How else are you going to watch The Office, Artie?
YouTube. Catch all seasons on YouTube. Come on now, you don't need to pay for that.
Only thing you should be watching on YouTube is the Boneyard Podcast.
I say all this to say that is ridiculous. That is true though. That is ridiculous. Peacock, come on now. All these other games, Fox, CBS, I get NFL Network or ABC. I get all that. But Peacock, stop.
I mean, you're gonna get subscribers. You're gonna get subscribers.
You're gonna get a few 100,000 subscribers within a 5-hour period, and they all gonna cancel their memberships right after the game. All of them.
All right, Dolphins, Chiefs. Chiefs 5-point favorites. 43.5 is the over under. I guess. I really want to take the Dolphins, but I'm going to ride with the Chiefs.
Yeah, this game is in Kansas City, and it's supposed to be like 8 degrees or something like that. And Miami really hasn't proven they can beat a good team. They ain't done it all season.
Right.
So, yeah, give me Kansas City. Give me the best quarterback in the league. Give me the best coach in the league at this point, and Andy Reid. Give me the Chiefs.
Over under on how many times we see Taylor Swift this weekend.
Oh, they're gonna shoot the Taylor every opportunity they get to shoot the Taylor Swift. They're gonna do. You're gonna see Taylor about 15 times.
Taylor Swift on Peacock this Saturday. All right. Moving along, Artie, Steelers at Bills. Bills are 10-point favorites. Over unders 35.5. Another game where I do want to take the Steelers.
Wow. For what?
The Bills don't feel like the same team that they have been in the last 3 years.
I don't know. They look pretty good over the last 5 weeks.
They have. And that's why I'm not taking the Steelers, but I want, kind of like with the Dolphins, I don't, the same reason I don't feel so great about the Chiefs down the stretch in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel the same about the Bills. Something seemed off this season.
Yeah.
With the Bills. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I'm still picking the Bills, but overall, I do think that, like, in my heart, I want to pick the Steelers, but with my mind, I'm taking the Bills.
I would agree with you because I like the Steelers more, right? Like I'm a big fan of Mike Tomlin. I've never found myself rooting against the Steelers. They're just not one of those franchises that I've ever rooted against. But they're down to Mason Rudolph. Their offense is not that good. Is TJ Watt playing this game? Didn't he get injured? Didn't he get hurt? I don't particularly think this game's gonna be close. I think Buffalo wins this game in a blowout. I don't think this game's gonna be. I think this is one of your rare blowouts this weekend. I think Buffalo wins by a couple scores.
All right.
And it's in Buffalo. It's gonna be out there breaking tables and shit. Buffalo's gonna win this.
All right. Next up, Packers at Cowboys. Cowboys are 7-point favorites. Over unders 50.5. Expecting a lot of offense. Artie, you take it away.
As painful as it is for me to admit this, Jordan Love might be the heir apparent to Aaron Rodgers, who was the heir apparent to Brett Favre. And as a Bears fan, I might have to sit here and go through yet another really good quarterback for Green Bay, and also hear Kyle Manick's mouth for the foreseeable future. So it's just not fun for me as a Bears fan. But Jordan Love can ball. He really can. He's proven that over the course of the entire season. He's had his hiccups, but I think he's really coming to his own. The Packers got some receivers. They got some really young guys that are really, really good. Their defense is disappointing because they should be a lot better. On paper, they got some good names. I still think Dallas wins this game. I'm picking Dallas. I think the Cowboys overall. It's in Jerry World. Like, this Cowboys team has to get it done. That you have a golden opportunity to get to the NFC. Obviously, the 49ers are going to be there, but it just feels like this is the year for Dak Prescott to finally kind of get over the hump, make it to an NFC Championship game. You got the offense, you got the defense, you got a home playoff game. Like, you got to beat Jordan Love and the Packers. Now, this, I wouldn't be shocked if the Packers win, but I'm taking Dallas.
Yeah, Jordan Love seems like you said, he seems like the next guy. I just think that the Dallas offense has too many weapons.
Yeah, they do too much for you at times.
I think that this is going to be a shootout. This is going to probably be the most fun game of the week.
And it's a rivalry, man. I mean, Packers Cowboys. It's an old school rivalry.
Dez caught it.
He did. That was a catch.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna roll with the Cowboys. When I was writing this out earlier, I was thinking, maybe I'll pick the Packers, but no, I'm gonna ride with the Cowboys. All right, Matt Stafford returns to Detroit. Rams, Lions, Artie. Lions 3-point favorites. Over unders 51.5. How you feel about it?
Hey, look, I'm an NFC North guy. If it ain't the Packers, I gotta root for you. So I gotta go Lions on this, man. I gotta go and like it's just about time they have a team like this. They won the division for the first time in 50,000 years. Back when it was called the NFC Central, I think it wasn't even the NFC North. That was the last time they won a division title. So the Rams are good, but they're out there with a bunch of kids. Matthew Stafford, I think they're going to be that defense from Detroit. I think they're going to be able to get to Matthew Stafford this weekend and kind of rattle him in his homecoming. Give me Detroit, man. They got to get over the hump at some point. They can't keep going out like this. They got to get over at some point. Give me Detroit.
The vibes keep flowing in Michigan. Give me Detroit. All right, and then last and honestly, in my opinion, least, Eagles 3-point favorites at Tampa Bay.
Eagles Bucks. Oof.
Over unders 43.5. A game that honestly, I'm not gonna watch this game.
I mean, it's crazy because the Eagles, we really thought were going to be, maybe NFC champions, back to back. And they just look awful. Well, we know what the Buccaneers look like. So, yeah, I'm just going to take the Eagles just because they should win this game. They just should. They're just a better team now. Are they going to show up? Who knows? But they should handle the Buccaneers. They're going to lose anybody else in the NFC. But they should handle Tampa Bay.
But for the same reason we're talking about the Bills looking really good over the last 5 weeks, the Eagles have looked awful. Just as bad.
They looked awful. Yeah.
So,
but they got great wins this season too, though. Like as bad as they've looked, they do have some really quality wins this year. So it's like if the right Eagles team shows up, they can win this game by 30 if they want to.
You know that, Artie, there's a saying in golf that says there's no pictures on a scorecard. The Buccaneers got there. I'm running with Baker.
I would love to see Baker do it though. I'm low key a Baker Mayfield fan. I'd love to see him pull it off.
I was calling for Baker Mayfield to be an Atlanta Falcon.
I'd love to see him pull it off.
All right, go Bucks. All right, Artie, anything else?
Nah, man, we're sitting there right at 1:02, an hour and 2 minutes. So I think we got a good episode, man. I got nothing else for you.
Awesome. Well, make sure you subscribe to the Variety Sports Network. Subscribe to the Boneyard Podcast wherever you get your podcast. Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon. I believe we're on Google Podcasts. I think maybe iHeartRadio. Wherever you're listening, Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you download. Also, leave us a 5-star review. If you don't, you can walk the damn plank. 5-star review. You are a friend of the podcast for life. And then follow us on social media at Boneyard Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And also make sure you subscribe on YouTube. That's all I got, Artie. Good episode. We'll talk to you next week when we have episode 180. 180 next week. Artie, let's get out of here.
Hey, Stool Presidente, I need my championship gear by the beginning of next week. All right, I need that pronto. Make it happen, Barstool. Outside of that, go Blue, go Pirates. Until next time, Pirate Nation. Deuce.